Now let's move on to a more complicated banner. We're going to begin with what we have from the previous time, and we're going to add some more effects to both the type and to the background. Let's start by putting another gradient in the background. Another layer. And now we're working on it above this other layer but below the type. Let's pick a more exotic gradient. Note there's lots on my computer. If there's not many on your computer, go to this little gear-like thing and go down and pick some different options. I'm going to add spectrum, and I always hit append. If you hit OK, it will replace all of these with the new one. Append adds it. There we go. Scoot down to here. We can see we have quite a bit. I'm going to pick this one right here. I can move these around here. I can change the color there just by clicking. Change it there. I could add another just by clicking there. Add another color. I can drag it down to eliminate it. I can move the center point around. I could change the transparency here, but I'm just going to leave them at fully opaque. Okay. Now you can see I have that gradient up here. I'm going to use the radial gradient tool. Leave it at 100% and normal, and just drag. And I got that. That looks pretty good. But I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to use a filter to modify it. Let's modify it with distort. We haven't gone there before. Let's start with twirl. You can see what twirl does to it. Let's just give it a slight twirl like that. You can see. That looks pretty good. Now let's go to filter and filter gallery and see if there's anything more interesting. Just clicking around, seeing if there's anything interesting. I kind of like the rough pastel with the horizontal look. Let's increase this stroke length, stroke detail, scaling. Let's change the light to, I'm going to leave it at bottom. Hit OK. So there we are. We got it. A different filter, different layer on there. We can throw away layer 2 now if you want. Okay. Notice that it's going all the way to blue on the ends. That's all right as well. This file should be big enough to fit any browser. So let's modify this type. Let's make it a little bit more interesting with some layer effects. Let's start out with digital image manipulation. There, and I'm going to click over here in this space after the words, not in the icon. Double click, and the Layer Stars panel comes up. You can modify any layer, whether it's type or an image here. You can go to the styles, just click there, and pick any one of the ones that's pre-built. Once again, you can go rummage around with the gear and get more. But instead of that, let's build one from scratch. See, if you click here, it automatically builds itself from these different ingredients, so to speak. Cancel. Double click again. Let's just put this is pretty light type. So let's put a stroke around it. And then how about a gradient overlay? Now the gradient it's on its default, so I'm going to click here again in the word, highlight the word, and then I can choose a different gradient. Let's say like that. That looks pretty good. Of course, you can change up the gradient, you can change up the opacity, you can change the angle of it, you can do all of that. So let's put an outer glow here. Click on outer glow. And you can't see much of one, so just increase the size, increase the spread. And let's, instead of it being white, let's make it a dark red. And instead of being screen mode, let's change it to normal. Okay? And add a little bit of, speckling, a little noise to kind of pick up on the background gradient. So there we are. Looking pretty good. Let's do exactly the same thing to here. We could have done something different, but I want to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to hold the Alt key down and drag that word effect down to the next layer, and it automatically copies that layer over to that. So let's do some more. Let's go back to this layer again and be in the type tool so we can manipulate the type. You can see you have that little box around there, and now you don't. So we're going to double click to get as much highlighter as we can, and then hit Control A to get all of the lines. We're going to increase the leading, the space between the lines. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to warp it, like we can do that right here. It's going to say you can't warp it because of the fake bold here. So you hit OK, and it goes away. Let's do a inflate. That looks pretty good. We can adjust it and hit OK. Go back up to the Move tool. Put it there. We might want to reduce the leading some, so I'm going to click on the T. Be in that type. Command A. Get it all. Reduce the leading. Okay. Back to the Move tool so we can move it around. And now we're going to grab the DSN 210, move it to the top, and then use the arrow key to move it down. And I'm going to put a different glow on this one now, make it stand out a little bit more. So double click on the word glow, and I get the glow up. Change this to, let's say, a yellow, like that. And hit OK. This is our more complex banner. Now let's prepare this banner for posting to a web page. First thing we're going to do is reduce the size. Zoom this up a little bigger. Reduce it by 50 pixels all the way around. Let's go to Image, Canvas size, and reduce this by 100 to 1450. Reduce this to 185. We're going to leave the little dot in the center, so it's going to reduce it by 100 all the way around, or 50 on each side. We're going to hit OK. Yep, I know it's going to get smaller. And there it is, all the way down. Now we can get rid of the rulers by hitting Control R. and we can hide the guides. Not only hide them, we'll clear them so they're gone. There is our image, ready to go, the right size. It's still a PSD, so let's save it as a JPEG and save it for the web. Save. So we still have our PSD file. Save for the web. And you get this before and after look. This is the original, 786K in size. This is the JPEG reduction. It's only 103. So let's boost it up a little bit and see what we've lost. It looks pretty much the same, and we're setting it at a JPEG high. Let's take that down to JPEG low, and you can see you're starting to lose information. It's starting to get a little creepy. So let's take it up to medium. Still a little loss. Let's take it back up to high. We really don't have to have it at maximum. Doesn't add much to it. At maximum it's 400K size, and at high it's 103K size. That'll make it load a little bit faster. So here we go. Hit save. We also had options to save it as a GIF or a PNG, but this is a Photoshop thing, so let's leave it as a JPEG. And hit save. And there it is, saved. Same name, images only, as a JPEG. All done.